Let's connect with Michael Every, Head Financial Markets Research at Rabobank International, to talk a little bit more about all that's going on with the U.S.-China trade talks. Michael, good afternoon. Just wanted to get in a perspective as to how you're looking into, this deal actually culminating. China has followed through on a lot of pledges, as we just heard about as well. You had the U.S. as well, which has delayed the planned increase of tariffs. How are you looking at the end game?
Well, we are nowhere near the end game, and even though once again we're seeing the same headlines written by the same two Wall Street journalists who have written the same story over and over again for a year now, repeatedly making exactly the same claim, which is so far yet to come true, and everyone's falling for it again. I think the end game will look nothing like the positive headlines that are being spun once again today. What we're seeing at the moment is hyperdimensional nonsense. Because, first of all, if you read the text of the article written by these same two journalists, you'll see they themselves stress everything is far from assured, because there are hardliners in both camps, both China and the US, who feel that any purported deal would actually not benefit their side. It's all down to President Trump, who himself has just made very clear that he's quite prepared to walk away from something he doesn't like and would be walking into a political trap by signing it domestically. And even if it were signed, it's an appalling deal for the US from a strategic perspective if it sees China as a rival. And there's not a chance in hell of China actually sticking to any of the reform components that are part and parcel of it. So if we're talking about endgame rather than near-term, knee-jerk market pop, it's a nonsense.
Okay, yes, that definitely is true. So give us a sense as to what you believe are the current, sticking points, because one of them could definitely be if tariffs would be lifted immediately or over a period of time to allow the U.S. to monitor whether China is actually meeting its obligations, according to experts.
Well, China will never meet its obligations. It has no intention to do so. And in fact, once again, this is the way that the news, sadly, today is too often reported to us. You get headlines without any degree of analysis whatsoever. Even if it were true that China was willing to allow imports of foreign cars at a lower tariff, and even if it were true that China is about to allow foreign ownership of auto production to a greater degree, even if that were true, and again, as I said, I question that intently, that's happening against the backdrop of auto sales in China being down around 16% year on year, and Chinese governments, local governments, walking back all the subsidies that they've put in place for electric vehicle production. So what you have is a collapsing market operating at around 50% capacity. And that money-losing sector is where China is apparently dangling the carrot to try and get more foreign money to come in. And you really don't have that many. But the only area that China is ever prepared to throw any kind of concessions in are ones where they come out strong winners by getting foreign money to come in and bail them out. So, I'm just gobsmacked that people actually thinking this is genuinely pragmatic good news from China's perspective.
Meantime, the other big development, Michael, that we're tracking is what's going on with respect to Kim Jongun and Donald Trump and those meets as well. And that ended yet again without an agreement. And do you think that for a major part, the problem lies in defining from both sides what exactly denuclearization would mean?
Well, yes and no. I think it does and it doesn't, in that, yes, you can say that it's about defining it. The US has been very, very clear. They don't want them to have nuclear weapons, and Korea will never give them up. In the same way that the US is equally clear with China, which is we want you to reform your economy and to make it a market economy, and Beijing will never, ever, ever do that. So, either one side is going to blink, and it's not going to be the Chinese or the North Koreans, or we're going to have some kind of stress and conflict. So, all we're doing really is can kicking until we get to that particular end game, to use the phrase that you were using earlier on.
Okay, thanks very much, Michael. So that's a fairly clear stance from